Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning into the Cast Beyond the Wall. I'm Caleb Masters, and I'm just dropping a little bit of a heads up for you regular listeners out there. We recorded this particular podcast. It was a little different. Normally, myself and Alexandra would be in the studio recording with our Skype guest, and just due to vacation and traveling and all the 4th of July holiday shenanigans, we were all kind of spread across the country, and unfortunately we ran into some tech issues. So Alexandra from time to time will cuts out, and at other times we had to trim entire portions of the conversation. But it's still a really fun show. I hope you guys will enjoy it. Just want to again apologize in advance for some of the kind of abrupt cuts. And something like there's a kind of a scratching or a popping noise that pops up anywhere from about the 5-minute to 15-minute mark when Alexandra's talking. So again, do apologize. I want to thank you guys so much for listening in, and we'll be back again. We'll be back next week with a special episode that'll kind of wrap our planned content this year on Game of Thrones. Enjoy. Welcome back, my lords and ladies, to the Cast Beyond the Wall. We're your guides to all things Westerosi, and we're here to bring you a review, analysis, and fan debate on each episode of HBO's hit show, Game of Thrones. Well, there's not really a new episode to discuss this week because we got all 10 of our episodes. The last episode 10 officially as of today. So this week we're going to be talking about season 6 as a whole. What did we think about it? Kind of do a wrap up, and we're going to be playing a lot of games today because who just wants to sit around and talk about the same stuff we've already said? Well, let's make it a little more fun. Let's mix it up. So this week we're going to be playing a lot of different games.
I've been sitting here for days. Start the damn joust before I piss myself.
I'm your host, Caleb Masters. I am joined today by a panel of familiar voices you might recognize. Joining us from the deserts of Phoenix, declared for the pirating scumbags and known for his legendary hatred of House Tarly, Austin Lucari. Come on down!
What is dead may never die!
I'm proud to represent House Greyjoy and House, Randall Tarly. I'll represent him too. Pretty cool guy.
Insert Nazis joke here.
Next contestant. He's lived with the real wildlings of Kentucky. He's born with blue blood and is still a Stark fanboy. Welcome everybody, Mr. Daniel Stoll. Come on down.
He won't be a boy forever. And winter is coming.
Next up, she is the fiercest Daenerys fangirl this side of the narrow Mississippi River. She's nicknamed Queen Bohannon, Queen of House Good Trash. Welcome everybody, Alexandra Bohannon, come on down!
I'm going to break the wheel.
Oh man, it's been my life's dream ever since I was in kindergarten to be on The Price is Right, and I think that this is the closest I'll ever get.
That's a sweet dream, and like all the dreams on Game of Thrones, they just get crushed.
Once you realize that it's not Bob Barker and it's Drew Carey, it's just not the same.
Spoilers!
All right, so that will be our panel for today.
Yes, enough of the bloody pomp. Have at him!
So we've got some games to play, but before we do, I do want to just get everyone's kind of quick thoughts on the season as a whole. What did we like about the season? What didn't we like about it? We'll kind of start off. This was the first season without source material, mostly. There were a couple storylines that got weaved in there were left over in the books, but by and large, this was the first season, Benioff and Weiss to take the show on their own. So I just want to get you guys' take on that. Do you think they succeeded? Austin, we'll start with you.
They really succeeded in some aspects, but I think it was the aspects in which they were already very strong. They execute really well. They make good scenes. Cinematography is always great. Effects are amazing. The season as a whole was probably, I think, the most exciting season from like a sheer like action perspective. We've talked extensively about the pacing of the season. They definitely failed in some respects, particularly surrounding kind of the build up to things. It was a lot less subtle, a lot less intrigue, which is a major aspect of Game of Thrones. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt right now, because after the season finale, I feel like they've earned a little bit of like, okay, well, maybe they can still pull this off. Maybe they're just trying to get somewhere. Let's see what happens. What I want to be careful of is not immediately jumping to, well, they don't have books, so anything that goes wrong is obviously a writing issue and all of that. I want to give them a little bit of slack, but it definitely had some issues this season. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think for the most part, agree with Austin. I think there were some really high highs this season, but I think that the lows were really, really low. So it was very much a up and down season, and when it was on, but when it was off, it was really off. So yeah, I pretty much echo what Austin said. I definitely think that I give them the benefit of the doubt here, especially after that finale. The finale was one of my favorite parts of the entire season, so they kind of pulled me back in a little bit, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Very cool. Alex, how about you? What did you think of the season as a whole?
So there were some storylines that were wrapped up really, really fast and probably really poorly. Besides the pacing and everything, I do like this really interesting role reversal that I'm curious to know, because I know the showrunners are in cahoots with Martin. I wonder if some of this source material is actually being pulled from the next Game of Thrones novel, because like the role reversal of women being really subjugated and, made into these properties. And now the women are like on top. They're the only ones doing anything these days. Like 3 queens, and then you have a ruling lady, and there's only like 2 eligible men that could even have a chance at the throne right now. I guess Jaime, but he's really never expressed any desire in that direction. So you've got Jon Snow and then Littlefinger, and that's it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Baelish is honestly the only one who I think really wants it, because Jon might be king of the North. I don't think he wants the Iron Throne by any means.
I don't even think he wanted king of the North, honestly. It was kind of pushed on him.
His look on his face whenever they're doing the King of the North thing was very like, oh, great. Thanks, guys. But yeah, I think Jon, rightly so, is really preoccupied with the actual problems beyond the wall, the ones that are going to kill everyone. And everyone else is like, I love my internal squabbles, over who is the ruler of what country and everything, these geopolitical power plays. But Jon's the one that's like, hey, this thing is actually going to kill everyone. So all of your countries in gold, and it's not going to matter. So I think he's really too preoccupied with that to even consider ruling.
You guys pretty much hit on all the points I wanted to talk about. It really just comes down to execution has been flawless. If you want to hear my thoughts on the season as a whole, go listen to the Battle of the Bastards episode. It articulates how I feel. I feel like there's a lot of things here that work flawlessly. They're incredible direction, the acting, some of the best it's ever been. And it's very visceral and powerful imagery. But this season as a whole, I feel like I'm going to remember the stuff at the end of the season, but early in the season, it all just kind of blurs together because it moves so fast. So fast.
I was going through prior seasons trying to decide for an upcoming question I think we'll ask is, what season's the best? What created a good season? And really, it always comes down to the high points. I don't care what happens in those episodes, 4 through 7 or whatever. It's always the high points that I remember. Not to say that it isn't important to have good middle episodes, but when I look back and think about a season, it's Hardhome, it's Blackwater, it's Jon Snow dying. It's always the big things happening that I remember.
Well, yeah, and that's what Game of Thrones does, but I also don't want you to forget the great monologue. You have your Jaime Brienne bathtub scenes, you have your Peter Baelish monologues, any of them.
And when you bring them up, I remember, oh, those were great. But when I actually just sit and think about it, I'm like, I don't remember it.
We have a fundamental difference, but I love both things. They both encapsulate what I love about Game of Thrones, but for me, those big moments mean nothing without the monologues. They don't. The monologues is what creates the stakes and the reason for me to... Okay.
I would agree with you. Maybe I'm just a Alzheimer's stricken man.
You're just a stereotypical Game of Thrones fan, Austin.
I am. That's my role here on the podcast, everybody.
No.
I'm just your average person.
Yeah, I'm just off put by a lot of the writing shortcuts they took. I mean, this year they stopped caring about time. Apparently everyone's got a DeLorean. Apparently they can time travel, or it just doesn't matter. It literally, they don't give two shits about like time anymore. Like, you've got an entire season where Samuel has an entire season of going to Old Town, while you have Varys going across an ocean back in 30 minutes.
And I do see both sides of it. And I think it also can come down to a lot of adaptation theory as well. Because, like, one of the biggest problems, to go into my other primary fandom, Harry Potter, one thing that the movies never really struck home with me is that you miss these tiny character moments that really, whenever you get to the high points, like the ones that, like, Cedric Diggory in the graveyard and Voldemort and Harry, and you get to Sirius dying in the lightning struck tower, you get to all of those moments, and without the tiny character moments that got them there, they're not as meaningful for me. And that's why the Harry Potter films, for me personally, have never been as like revered as I know they are for other fans. I prefer the books and the audiobooks much more over the films themselves. So getting back to Game of Thrones, I feel like just like an instantaneous emotional decision. It didn't have any forethought behind it. It just happened. You know, like, it was really accelerated storytelling. And I mean, I felt like it shortchanged a lot of characters and the character development. But I know they have to wrap things up, you know, so that Dany can get on our boats to Westeros and all that.
There were a handful of great monologues this season. The High Sparrow still earlier in the season, I don't know if you guys remember, got some great monologues.
Sansa had a really good one when she was talking to Littlefinger.
Especially early in the season, there was like almost none of it. Like, hey, like, we didn't get to process things with the characters. So, like, early in the season, first episode, instead of like people in the Night's Watch being like, oh, who killed Jon Snow? It's like, you want to know who killed Jon Snow? I did. Or Yara Greyjoy, you killed Bowen. Sure did. Like, I mean, there was no like that drama.
That one worked though. That one fit.
Well, it fits the way they're deciding to roll with that character. It fits. But I'm just saying, a lot of those things that normally would have probably taken a couple episodes. Because the thing I like about it is, generally speaking, I feel like the best part of those monologues is you get to process their feelings and their thoughts as they're doing that. And I feel like the biggest offender of that is Jon Snow. That guy needed a good long moment to process his death and resurrection.
I completely agree with you on that. I really wanted to dive into, like, we even talked about on the podcast, I think the very first episode or so, when Jon comes back, because we were all so convinced it was going to happen. What's he going to be like? Is he going to be the same Jon Snow? He's got to be different and all these things. And like, they just never went there with any of that. So I completely agree with you on the Jon Snow side of things. He just came back and it was like it never happened almost, you shouldn't feel that way.
And that's what leads to a lot of these really weird character decisions. Arya walking around Braavos like a complete idiot. You've got Davos for absolutely for no reason that we've witnessed decides, oh, I'm gonna go protect Jon Snow's body just so we can bring him back. You know what I mean? Like, but we never had understood that kind of loyalty from Davos, from him. Lots of things like that. There was a lot of sacrificing of that character development for the sake of time, so that the plot can move forward. So that's my biggest problem with the season. I still think overall we had a really effective season. And man, holy shit, if that's not how you end a season, guys. I mean, that was some incredible. That was an incredible season finale. Gentlemen, my lords. It's time to play a game.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here's what we do. We have a really handy bracket here where we're going to have each of the 20 of the biggest storylines competing against each other. And here's how the rules work. So, we're going to have a maximum of 1 minute to talk about each storyline where we debate.
We should post this bracket when we post the show.
Yeah, sure. We'll go ahead and I'll post the bracket in the post on goodtrashmedia.com. And here are the rules. Each storyline gets up to 1 minute of debate time per round. Each of the hosts is going to vote, and the loser gets eliminated. Now, each one of us gets to vote for what I'm calling a Melissandre Resurrection, for one of the storylines that gets the boot. And then we're going to throw all those in their own category.
Like a loser bracket.
Like a loser bracket that we select specifically. I'll only get one. And then the Resurrected story, we'll have those competing each other, and then we'll have that go back against our number 1 pick. So, we'll get the ball rolling. So, starting off with round number 1, we have Tyrion negotiating peace with the Masters versus the Westerosi stage plays. This one's a shoo-in for me. I've got this one, guys. I think this is probably the weakest Tyrion storyline we've ever had by a lot. So that one's automatically getting the boot. And while Arya's storyline not great, I have no choice. I mean, I still thought the plays were really clever and really cool, and a neat little way to build the world. So my vote, I mean, just no question, goes towards Westerosi stage plays.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you because we even saw a little foreshadowing with the Westerosi stage plays. I think Daniel Stoll pointed this out a couple weeks ago, where we talked about Arya encouraging to show that Cersei would want revenge. She'd want to get back at everybody, which we eventually saw in the finale. I think that alone makes it better than Tyrion's scenes.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on this one. I think that being able to see the way that the world views itself is an extremely interesting idea, and we get to see that play out, especially in front of Arya, where she specifically gets to see how the world views what happened when she was really there, and she knows exactly what happened. And you just get to see how people change history and say it's different than what actually had happened. And as we're seeing, with Jon, the way people tell history isn't exactly the way that it happened. So I think that highlights that a little bit, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. So yeah, I agree with you guys. That gets the vote for me as well.
Yep. Westerosi stage plays for me. I think that they're too valuable.
So there we have it. No contest. The Westerosi stage plays moves on to the next round. So let's go ahead and hit up the next storyline. So we've got Arya continues training as the Faceless Man. So this is where she goes Batman Begins montage style. Versus Sansa making her way to the Wall. This is where she is saved by Brienne and meets up with Theon. And then they head to the Wall and eventually reunite with Jon Snow.
Okay, honestly, I'm not like a super fan of either of these particular storylines, but I guess I'm going to have to go with Sansa makes her way to the Wall. I think that Sansa for me was one of the bigger characters this entire season. So, and the way that she grew throughout the season, and she quickly became one of my favorite characters as well. So being able to see the interactions that she has with Jon and Ramsay and Brienne, I think were a lot more rewarding than what we got from Arya's storyline. So my vote's going to be Sansa heading to the Wall.
I'm gonna have to agree with Daniel and Alex on this one. One, the Arya scene with her training and such, it was lazy. It was a montage. It was not a good scene. It was the only montage I can ever remember seeing on Game of Thrones. In that way, it was unique.
We have to download those skills to her brain matrix style, bro.
Yeah, it was rough. It was a rough scene. What I loved about the Sansa scene was really the interaction between her and Jon. We got to see them reunite, them kind of start to work through some of the differences that they had when Sansa was a child, basically. So you get to see a little bit of a Stark reunion for the first time ever on the show. So that was a much better scene for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with both of these. And just, you guys have basically articulated my point for me, so I'm not going to belabor the point. But it was really cool to see Brienne kind of fulfill her vow to Catelyn Stark, something we've been building on for a while, in a way that even the books still feels like a hopeless fool's errand. And the show has kind of found a way to fulfill that. And I really like that about that scene. So, again, no contest. We will move Sansa heading to the Wall up to the next round.
Yeah, and I just couldn't stomach so much of the other faceless girl. I often call her bitch in my mind, just like
I feel
Joffrey and her.
So Alex, when you have a punching bag, I now know exactly what's attached. You have the Joffrey face up there. I feel you. No shame. Moving on to the next round, we're going to go ahead and hit on... This one might be a little tougher, I think. Jaime retaking River Run from the Blackfish versus Yara and Greyjoy uniting together to pursue Daenerys.
Yara and Theon?
Yeah, Yara and Theon.
I'll go first on this one. It's got to be Yara and Theon for me. I mean, for a second I thought, well, Jaime's kind of cool, and I thought, what? It's the Greyjoys. Come on now. In all seriousness, Yara has been like a great character this season, like really, really great, and I think she's really needed in the show right now. And to see Theon kind of regain at least a shadow of his former self, just from a confidence perspective. Obviously, he did a lot of terrible things before, but he's also throwing his support behind Yara as a leader, which really goes to show that he has changed as a result of his experiences. He is a fundamentally different person here. What about you guys? What do you think?
I think that him going in really reasserting his confidence in an attempt. I know in the books it's a little different where he is trying to get over Cersei, and this is one step and way he does that. So that's another thing. But the reason that I don't like the Yara and Theon thing, it's not like I dislike the fact that Theon is supporting Yara. It's just I didn't particularly like that scene in the brothel. I felt like it was really shoehorned in. I thought it was really objectifying. I didn't feel, while I do enjoy that, more LGBT characters are being included in Game of Thrones.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a really good point. Stoll, how about you?
I think this one's actually pretty tough for me. I like parts of both stories, but I also dislike parts of both stories. So I think overall I am going to actually, surprising myself, I think I'm going to choose Jaime retakes River Run from the Blackfish, actually. I think that being able to see the Brienne and Jaime reunite and see their conversation brings a really cool scene. I remember that particular episode being kind of weak, but I remember that scene in particular being a highlight of that episode. So that's part of it as well. We get Bronn back, which Bronn's one of my favorite characters. He's hilarious, and so we get to see some of that conversation as well. And while we did have some conversation on Jaime's character and what it did there, I think overall what comes out of that is a little bit stronger for me than the Yara Theon stuff. While the Yara Theon stuff, there are some really highlights of it. It wasn't like overly exciting for me in any way.
Yeah, I'm right there. I have to go with the Jaime scene. You can go back and listen.
You people.
Wow, I'm actually
betrayed right now.
I'm actually surprised. Caleb really didn't seem like he liked the Jaime stuff that much. So I'm actually surprised he went that way.
Well, two reasons. Two scenes.
Hates me. Main reason.
Well, there's that. And I did dig seeing Theon really back Yara. I was pretty game with that. I think that was some cool stuff. And seeing them actually team up with Daenerys is great. Two things I want to point out. One, it is a victim of the lazy writing, in which case they got across the ocean uber fast, and all of a sudden they're on Team Daenerys. I would have loved to have seen more. Give me an episode.
It took several episodes.
No, they were at a brothel for one episode, and then they were there.
In Volantis, they were already over there in Essos.
I wanted to see more of their interaction, and I would have loved to have seen them spend a little more time with Daenerys. But hey, whatever. One, two. The story of Jaime, I had issues with. I really did. However, the Jaime Brienne scene was fantastic, and the scene between Jaime and Edmure Tully was excellent. Those two scenes, I thought, outmatched any of the scenes we got with the Greyjoys, and I liked all their stuff, but I thought those two scenes were amongst two of the best of the season. Getting to see Jaime do his thing was really, really great. And to Alex's point too, I really do see Brienne as kind of superseding the kind of misogyny of Thrones type of idea, which is pretty cool too. My biggest problem with it is they freaking treat the Blackfish like cannon fodder. Ugh.
But he is in the show. He is.
No, he's not. He's
in the show.
No,
he's
not. You don't understand. You don't understand. Like, that character's a badass.
In the show, he does nothing.
Well, even they build him up in the show when he does show up. We're not going to argue about this. We don't have time for it.
I evoke resurrection.
Resurrection?
I evoke resurrection.
He invokes resurrection. All right. So that's going to
save the storyline.
All right.
There's no other storylines on this list that matter.
All right. So we got 9.
Jaime moves on.
So Jaime moves on to the next round.
Greyjoy's moved to the loser bracket.
Moves to the loser bracket. Correct. let's go ahead and move on to the next storyline, which is going to be the Lannister-Tyrell alliance to stop the High Sparrow versus Yara Greyjoy retaking the Salt Throne. And that would include the Kingsmoot. That would include him throwing Balon Greyjoy off the bridge. That would include his Donald Trump speech about his cock and 1,000 ships.
The Lannister-Tyrell alliance for what? Taking out the High Sparrows?
Yeah, remember they all like united their armies and marched on the Sept, and it didn't work because.
Okay.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so Alex, we'll start with you on this one.
Can I vote for neither of them? Can I just like say no? Like I don't want to validate either of them really. Okay. How about this? To concede a point to our friend Austin Lucari, I'm going to vote for Euron, King of the Greyjoys, just because of him. How about that?
Good choice. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
I think you really secretly hope he hooks up with Daenerys.
I'm going to go actually with the Lannister-Tyrell alliance. I thought that particular part of the season where Tommen comes out and declares that they're going to be, the faith and the crown are going to be united was extremely shocking to me. I didn't see that coming at all. So that was particularly interesting to me, and seeing how they had this huge plan. Then Marjorie comes out and has this whole plan going on behind doors. Didn't really see any of that coming, but I thought it made a lot of sense. So that for me is going to win it. If it wasn't the strongest part of this season, and the Euron King stuff was kind of interesting, but it never really played out. We saw him maybe twice this entire season, so didn't have a lot of impact, at least in this season. So for me, it's Lannister Tyrell.
All right. Well, I will also concede a point to Austin because I really liked the Kingsmoot scene. It could have been a better scene, sure, but I still thought it was a cool scene. I loved his thing about build 1,000 ships, and then we saw Daenerys the next episode. Hey, how many ships am I gonna need? About 1,000, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe like 1,000. Remember what that other guy said? I'm gonna have to go with the Euron, particularly Kingsmoot was really good. It's not like an amazing scene, but the Lannister Tyrell scene I thought was kind of terrible. I don't know.
That storyline was boring, and it ended up being filler. In retrospect, it's totally filler.
It didn't actually do anything. Like, I expected it to be like, oh, we're actually teaming up. No, Cersei just decides to blow up her whole family instead.
Yep.
So.
Exactly. All right, moving on to the next one, guys. That's going to be Jon Snow brought back from the dead. So this is where Davos holds his body in order for Melisandre to bring him back, and then he's resurrected. Versus Sam travels to Old Town.
This matchup is the worst matchup.
Plots that don't mean anything or with really important plots, like paired up against each other.
I wanted to keep things interesting, guys.
Well, that's kind of how it works at basketball, right? Like the high seed always faces the low seed.
Alex, so does that mean so obviously you're talking about the Samwell storyline being the important one, right?
You're a little shit, Caleb. No, I can't even, like, I don't have enough ill will towards Austin Lucari to say that Sam travels to Old Town is more important than Jon being resurrected.
Can I give you guys, can I just put this into perspective here? Okay, a couple things. One, Sam had like 3 scenes the entire season, and 2 of those I actually thought were really good. I love the scene with the family, and when he got there, he got to the library, that was actually a really effective scene. And I'm gonna make the argument that I was really let down with this resurrection, not only because I thought the resurrection was really anticlimactic, but also because there was no consequence to it at all. 0.
We saw Kit Harington's ass. Your argument is invalid.
Hey, you two, calm down about Kit Harington and his hairy ass. I don't know. Come on. All right. So Alex votes. Alex. So that I take it your vote goes towards resurrection of Jon Snow then.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, I know it didn't do the cool things I wanted it to do, where they, like, try and res him, and then they burn his body, and then that's how they find out he's a Targaryen. Like, I really wanted that to happen, but I was still pretty fine with how it actually happened.
Yeah. I'm going to vote Jon as well. Let's move on.
Okay, Daniel.
I mean, I think Caleb brought up some really good points. I think that the him resurrecting was fairly weak. Like, it didn't feel actually that impactful at all. I mean, yes, he's back, and his presence of being back was impactful, but the actual impact of him dying didn't seem to matter at all. However, having said all that, it's much better than the Sam stuff. So my vote is for Jon as well.
Thank you.
You guys. And you know what's funny?
Are you voting Sam?
Huh?
Are you voting Sam?
I'm gonna vote Sam, yeah, because I actually think it's I think Sam had good scenes this season. He didn't have very many of. He did what he did what Arya should have done.
Don't matter. Sam's dead. Let's move on. We're good.
He might res Sam. Are you gonna res Sam?
He's not gonna res Sam. Why would he res Sam?
He's also doing it knowing that it's not gonna. He's the one vote, and it's not gonna push it through. So
that's right. I can't do it. Because I'm going to back a winning horse in my resurrection. I was really thinking about it, though.
I'm backing a losing horse.
Fine.
Out of honor.
Fine. Fine. Honor, duty, all that good stuff. Okay, so fine. Jon Snow's really shitty resurrection moves on. Which moves us to the final of round 1, which is going to put us at Dany takes back Meereen. Which, by the way, is going to include everything from episode 9 and episode 10. I clumped those together because it was basically one epic battle. And then I felt like taking Meereen back and then heading to Westeros, all in one, versus Jon and Sansa. Well, talk about bad pairings. Jon and Sansa rally the North to retake Winterfell. Does anyone have any questions on this one at all?
No. Well, anyone else can talk. You know I'm going to vote for Dany on this.
I'm voting for Dany too.
Yeah. Okay. Stoll, Dany.
I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. I think I actually. Wait, so the Jon and Sansa, specifically them taking, like...
That's where they go to, like, House Mormont. They go to House Mormont and House Umber and all that stuff.
This doesn't include the actual battle.
No, the actual battle, the Battle of the Bastards is separate.
It should be said that we get the scene with Lady Mormont, which was fantastic. And
it's great.
There is that particular scene, which is great. However, I think overall Dany's is better. But we do have to remember that one particular scene.
Yeah, did you guys see the tweet from George R.R. Martin that is just like, oh, you like Lady Mormont, do you?
Oh, he's threatening to kill her?
She's gonna die!
He's a monster. She's gonna die, and then Sam's gonna still live, and I'm gonna show up at his house.
You wanna know why? Because Sam's a survivor, Austin.
Is that Beyonce who sings that?
Survivor? I'm a survivor.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's Destiny's Child, not... which includes Beyonce.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not crazy.
Let's please move forward.
Round 2.
The Battle of the Bastards versus last round's winner, the Westerosi stage play.
Yeah, we don't need to discuss this one. we're gonna go with the Battle of the Bastards. Okay. Any objections? Say aye.
No, okay. All right. So Battle of the Bastards moves on. Okay. How about this? Next one, we're gonna be doing Cersei's Revenge versus Sansa makes her way to the wall.
Cersei?
Really? Yeah, let's go Cersei.
Like, that's seriously one of the best moments ever.
In the entire show? Yeah. Let's just take a moment. Alex, by the way, you weren't on our season 6, or season episode 10 wrap up. So what did you make of that?
And I was mad. It was only like the coolest thing she's ever done in the show and maybe the coolest television I've ever seen in my life. So yeah. It was, and her armor is dope as fuck.
Yeah, we talked about that too.
Guys, I listen to your episodes.
Alice listens like the second they go up because she's a boss.
Yeah, I would wear that dress. I'd do it.
I want so badly to have because like I've now got a problem where I'm like collecting Funko Pops.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. There's a Cersei one, but it's her from like season 1 where she's wearing all those dresses and the long hair. They have to make her with the battle armor. I would pay like $30.
I want like an actual like full-on figurine though. That's what I want.
Oh, that would be sick. And Alex will be joining us again for our next episode, talking about women in Game of Thrones. So hold that thought, Alex. I do feel bad about not getting your take on episode 10. So you'll have your moment to talk about the Cersei awesome. That'll take us on to the next matchup, which is going to be the Hound returning from the dead versus Bran's training with the Three-Eyed Raven. I hope this one's a little tougher for you guys.
Oh, it's not tough for me at all.
Yeah, it's not super bad, but yeah.
I mean, I'll go first. I mean, it's Bran easily. I thought the Hound coming back was really, really like, oh, hey, he's back. And they did this whole fake out where like, hey, he's not fighter. Oh, actually he is a fighter and he's exactly the same as when he left. And so it literally doesn't matter what we just showed you this entire episode. So Bran wins.
Okay. All right. So Bran's defunct winner. Is that what I'm hearing?
I say Bran goes.
Okay, well, I want to say I didn't dislike the Hound Return as much as you guys did, but I thought the stuff with Bran was a really clever way to use flashbacks without using flashbacks.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Because the writers were very hesitant about doing it. They toyed with it a little bit last season.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
ultimately I think they found a much smarter way to do it. And I also think that's finally getting us back to Bran, seeing what he could do. I liked all the flashbacks and kind of the history and the Tower of Joy stuff. So that will move Bran on to the next round.
Oh no, this next one.
Okay, so
This next one, guys.
it's gonna be hold the door, hold the door,
Hold the door.
hold the door, hold the door. Oh god, I feel bad. Versus Euron Greyjoy returning to take the Salt Throne.
I mean, Hodor, come on, like,
Hodor.
Yeah, it's Hodor.
Yeah.
It's Hodor.
Hodor.
That was the saddest I've ever been in this show. Like, legitimately, Ned was shocking. Red Wedding was shocking. That was the saddest I've ever been in this show.
So the next one is gonna be Dany with the Dothraki. Now that would also include Daenerys like burning all of the Khalasars in the hut. That whole thing for the first like 4 episodes with her, all in one moment. Versus
Bolton Family Matters.
Bolton Family Matters, in which Ramsay betrays his dad, then also kills Osha and also kidnaps Ripken. I mean, Dany pretty much turned herself into a goddess like crazy, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. It sounds like Dany to me.
It's Dany, and it's not even just her scenes were amazing, but the Bolton stuff was really weak this season. It just was like, hey, he's bad. Hey, remember he's still bad. Hey, Ramsay's a bad dude. Just over and over.
Yep.
That's gonna bring us to
The best storyline.
best storyline of all time. All right, guys. So, a Dornish coup versus Jon Snow resurrected.
Well, I'm gonna purposely be contrarian just because I can, and I think a Dornish coup should be the next one because obviously they're so important to the main storyline, and they're certainly not objectified women, and they're certainly got a purpose in Game of Thrones. So absolutely, I sarcastically vote for the Dornish coup because I know it's not going to go forward.
I mean, Olenna Tyrell.
Chaos is a ladder, folks. I'm voting Dornish coup. Woo!
Are you really voting Dornish coup?
I'm voting Dornish coup.
All right. You guys, you're making my job easy. I was going to use my resurrection on this one, but you guys just made it way easier.
You're gonna resurrect Jon Snow's resurrection?
No, fuck that. I don't want to resurrect that shit. He's already been resurrected once. He only gets one Melisandre resurrection as well. So you know what? I'm voting for the Dornish coup. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no!
That's what you guys get for killing Samwell Tarly, okay? You took Samwell Tarly off the board. That's what's going down right there. Right there.
I'm not trolling like you guys. I'm sticking. I don't care. I'm sticking my vote with Jon. Absolutely. I know it doesn't matter, but I want it to be
Daniel
known.
did stick up for Jon Snow's resurrection. Dornish coup it is, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna have to go on to the next round.
Round 3.
We got the Battle of the Bastards versus Jaime retaking River Run from the Blackfish.
Battle of the Bastards.
Battle of the Bastards.
I mean, Jaime's stuff isn't, it's good, but it's not as strong.
I do think that we got some really cool, some of the cinematography in the Battle of the Bastards was really exciting. Again,
the visceral nature of that battle, I'll go ahead and segue right to my vote. It gets my vote because it is super impressive and truly an achievement for a TV show to deliver what is probably one of the best battles, epic battles in any medium.
Yeah, I agree.
At least any visual medium. I have problems with the writing, and as I said in my tweet, it lacks the special sauce that makes Game of Thrones Game of Thrones.
It's the Chick-fil-A sauce. It's a secret recipe too. Like everybody's got a special sauce.
That's
and
right.
It really does miss whatever makes Game of Thrones Thrones. I'm still voting for it.
No,
Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah, Battle of the Bastards also gets my vote as well, and I did enjoy the Jaime stuff, but Battle of the Bastards moves on. So that's going to move us on to the next round, which is going to be Cersei's Revenge versus Bran's training with the three-eyed raven.
Cersei.
That's Cersei.
I mean, Cersei's Revenge is going to go to the end. Pretty much, at least going to be in the final conversation, I think. So,
Well, I'm pretty sure if we don't vote at number one, Lena Headey might blow us all the kingdom come with her epic ripped muscle tattoo thing.
She has the best Twitter, by the way, guys. Follow her.
She does. She does. Have you ever seen? She's also crazy ripped. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, Cersei's Revenge. It is one of the, and I know we said this in our recap, but just want to restate this, guys. One of the arguably the best sequence in the entire show. I don't know if I'm quite ready to say the best, but holy shit, guys, it is so very incredible.
And the music is perfect. Everything about it is.
It's flawless. Game of Thrones, it's like The Godfather, Michael Corleone, in Game of Thrones. You sweep out all of your enemies in one foul swoop. While she's up there drinking wine, like Corleone doing the baptism scene.
Yeah. I love the Overwatch memes of her, play of the game.
Oh, every single version of it is great. By the way, can I just give a shout out to the Overwatch memes that I didn't discover until this one? So we saw this one, and then I realized apparently there was a bunch of them from earlier episodes.
To you.
Oh my god, so much fun. But yes, Cersei's Revenge moves on to the next round. All right, so this is going to put us with Hold the Door versus
Dany.
Dany becomes the goddess of the Dothraki. This is a tougher one.
That's Hodor for me, unquestionably.
yeah, that one's not as tough for me. I think the emotional impact of Hodor and finding out at the same time what his whole life really meant was just really, really well executed, and just the impact that it has for Bran too, realizing what he's. I mean, we haven't really got that yet. Hopefully we will in the next season, but I think that just the emotional impact of that is just too strong for me to not vote for it.
Man, you know what would be great, guys? If we got a great Bran monologue where he talked about how he feels about what he did to Hodor. We don't have time for that in season 6, though.
Nope. Season 6 is not a time for talking. It's a time for stabby, shippy. Varys turning into a merman to get to Marine.
Yes, thank you.
There wasn't
so
even
much.
really time for sex in this season. It was like, no,
There
no
wasn't.
time for that.
There was an allusion to sex with Pycelle in the last episode. I mean, it was already done. It was the after sex. He was putting his garments, and that was the closest we got to sex positions.
There was no sex.
There really wasn't. There were some boobs here and there, but
There was also a really nasty penis, super up close.
There were a couple different penises. We just got to make sure we got to get them in there. Okay. Get the penises in there. Good job, me.
I get the. All right.
That's how I live my life.
All right.
There.
So we're gonna move on to the next. So that would make it. I will also vote for Hodor. That's a close one though. The only reason, honestly, the only thing that's keeping me different between these two, this was an epic Dany moment, but it's not the first time we've had a holy shit Dany's a badass motherfucker scene. This is the first. We've seen her do that with back in season 3 where she roasted the Masters and took the Unsullied. We've seen her roast other Masters. She's done cool stuff before, and while this is definitely the best version of that. It's not repetitive because I still think it's the most epic by a lot and it has the most impact and weight, but we've never seen anything like Hodor. So my vote goes to that. However, again, Strategery says she stays back in. So that's going to put her up there with Yara and Theon. I wonder how that's going to go. All right, that's going to move us on to the Dornish coup versus Daenerys taking back Meereen. One of the finest action set pieces we've ever seen in Game of Thrones, period. Arguably better than the actual Battle of the Bastards in some ways. Versus a coup.
I'm going to go Dany.
Dany.
Well, I'm going to vote a coup. And then I'm going to resurrect it. Bam.
Are you going to resurrect the coup?
Yeah.
The Dornish coup?
Yeah, I am.
Can I use my resurrection to kill your resurrection?
I'm getting vengeance for Samwell getting taken out. I really thought I was going to have you guys on my side on that one. Fine.
Then why don't you just resurrect Sam?
Hold on. Daniel, are you going to res John?
I don't know yet. I'm waiting. I don't know. I'm waiting to see it play out first. I want to know all my options before I make a decision.
All right, Starky Littlefinger over there. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna resurrect. I'm gonna resurrect the Dornish coup, and then Daenerys moves on. So we're gonna have a Dany versus. Okay, very cool. So that brings us to the Battle of the Bastards versus Cersei's Revenge.
Cersei's Revenge.
I mean, Cersei's
Revenge. Yeah, no question there.
I mean, they're both excellent.
Yeah.
Like, really, really.
Yeah.
But Cersei's Revenge had the action and the story and the acting and the direction.
And it had the special
script and the music.
Yeah.
Just everything.
Yeah, and I felt like it was more Game of Thrones. And I'll be honest, again, Battle of the Bastards, as cool as it was, I felt like it lacked the proper build-up to that particular battle. I mean, it was they kind of planted the seeds, but I didn't feel like oh man, let's go. I was just like, oh, the battle's here. Okay. Versus this, we've been building for 2 seasons to get this moment. At least 2 seasons for this moment.
Yeah, and it didn't feel, the Battle of the Bastards didn't feel like, I never felt like anyone was really in danger.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, totally. So we're going to go ahead and move on. Alex, you cast for Cersei's Revenge?
Cersei's Revenge for me.
All right, so that'll take us on to Hold the Door versus Daenerys Takes Back Meereen.
Oh, Hodor.
Yeah, I agree. Hodor as well.
That's actually a really tough one for me, but again, based on the same sentiment I just used on the previous one, I'd make the same argument.
Yeah.
Although the second Daenerys scene, way more epic.
And there was a lot of action in the Hodor scene.
There was a lot of action in the Hodor scene.
It introduced time travel.
It did introduce time travel and time loops. Oh, yeah. I love that stuff. On another show, one of these days, ladies and gentlemen, I will talk about time travel in depth. So that leaves us, okay, so far we've had Resurrected. We've had, I resurrected the Dornish, the Dornish coup. Austin resurrected Yara and Theon. Alex has done Daenerys. Stoll, are you still waiting? Are you still waiting on the wings? Because we're about to move in the final round here.
Yeah, I'm still waiting because what I wanted to have happen has happened so far. So I'm in a good spot.
He's playing the Game of Thrones. Let's go ahead and do the final matchup then. This is going to be Cersei's Revenge versus Hold the Door.
I'm going Hodor. I really like that scene.
It is a great scene. Whichever one we pick is certainly not because it's a bad scene, a weak scene.
It's definitely not bad. Whichever way you go. I'm gonna go Cersei's Revenge.
Yeah, I think I'm going Cersei's Revenge too. Actually, it's tough though. I mean,
it is tough. I think these are the top 2 moments of the season for me. But I think Cersei's Revenge, just the whole sequence for like the first 10 minutes of that episode are just so fantastic. I have to go with that.
It's a good choice. The thing is with the Hodor is it was literally, like I said before, the emotional impact it had. I didn't have that with Cersei, but this...
No, I had a different emotional response. I had a holy shit, she is so good. I mean, I kind of hate her because she's pure evil, but holy crap.
Tommen jumping out the window.
Yeah, that was pretty sad. Not as...
No, it wasn't as heart-wrenching, but it was like, wow.
Yeah.
Hey, since I wasn't on that last episode, I can't remember if Caleb told you, but told you so. I knew that she was going to cause indirectly or directly the death of the last child, therefore making her inhuman.
You and everybody else.
Oh, Austin, don't be a punk. Hey, I did. Get that off.
I mean, I didn't think it was going to be in that manner, but I thought that I agreed with you that it was going to be some sort of indirectness, but I never expected it to happen in that manner at all.
I didn't either. I thought she was gonna like accidentally blow up Tommen or something like that.
That'll leave us with
the whole stall. You got it. Now's the time, man. Come on.
I mean, there's not really anything to resurrect. The thing I would probably resurrect is the Hodor, but it would just get placed up against this again and lose.
I don't know. We've got a couple good. Well,
you gotta pick something.
What are you resin, bruh? Okay. We still have to complete the bracket, though. Like, I mean, there's a whole
loser bracket.
Yeah.
We're all losers here. You got to join us.
Exactly. She's got it. There you go.
I'll choose Hold the Door as the Hodor stuff, as my resurrection.
Okay. So, Hold the Door is going to be up there. Okay. Coup versus Hodor, guys. Who are we picking?
Hodor.
I mean, it's Hodor.
Okay. Dany versus the Coup. Or sorry, Dany versus Yara and Theon.
Greyjoys. For life.
Dany.
Dany.
You guys.
Dead.
I'll go down with the ship. I'll go down with the ship.
Yeah, you go down with your ship just like those Greyjoy motherfuckers. All right. Captain Jack. You go down just about as fast as that Pirates 5 movie whenever that comes out. So that leaves us with Hold the Door versus Daenerys is a goddess.
Hold the Door for me.
I'm doing Daenerys as a goddess because we've already done Hold the Door versus Cersei, and I think they're both great plot lines and both deserve some attention.
Yeah, that's true. If we put Hodor back, it's not going to change the outcome. So let's do Dany.
I'm going Dany.
We're going Dany.
Chaos.
Chaos is a ladder. It isn't a pit. All right. So that changes up our final. So that's right, Alex. That is a really sexy looking bracket you've got drawn up there. Mostly because it's got Daenerys. It's a really sexy matchup we got going on. We actually have Dany becomes a goddess versus Cersei's revenge.
It's all women battle.
2 women, by the way.
And 2 of their badassest moments.
I'm gonna back Cersei again. Despite, this is from a sheer personal perspective. Cersei's been one of my favorite characters since the beginning of the show, and I'm glad to see her sticking around for at least another episode or 2.
Daniel, where are you landing at, sir?
I even last episode in our podcast said that I think that I went the step further, and I think that this is the best thing we've seen in Game of Thrones out of all 6 seasons. So so I have to vote for it. It's too good.
All right. So Alex, how about you?
I know, my homegirl, Dany, Daenerys, I love you. I just bought your pop figurine, and I'm so excited about it. But, yeah, Cersei, that was just the coolest piece of television I think I've ever seen in my life. And it was perfect.
This is radio, so you can't see it, but Alex has a card that says "Yas, Queen" with the crown drawn on it. So, all hail Queen Cersei, because that would go my vote as well, just for the dress.
Yeah.
All other stuff is great. All this other stuff is cool. Lena Headey in that dress with her
the most
evil
functional female armor we've seen in a long time. Mm-hmm. I guess you got Brienne, but.
It was sick. And I like it was a whole new costume, too. Like, it was all original. But, no.
She's in black, and she gives no shits anymore. She's done with everyone. She's going to crush.
Vader. Queen, yeah, pretty much. And this is me anticipating future seasons. It makes me really excited the way her and Jaime look at each other in that final scene. I'm like, yes, finally. Ugh.
Finally, trying to distance himself from her, which I think is really powerful. Considering the power plays between the 2 of them earlier on, the fact that he sexually assaulted her near the corpse of their dead child, and now she's the reigning monarch in King's Landing and Westeros, and she could kill him for just no reason at all. And there's a huge shift in power there. She has all the power now.
Oh, this is gonna be great when he kills her, right, Austin?
Still don't think it's going to be that way.
He's going to kill her. I'm telling you.
I agree. He is 100%. Caleb said it, I think, best on the last episode when he talked about, he stopped the Mad King for doing this exact thing. He killed the Mad King for what Cersei did. To him, that's unforgivable. I think in his mind, it's, not unforgivable. So I don't know if it's not going to be an immediate thing, but I think that's where it's going. I don't think there's a question about it.
I would give it a free pass if it's not he kills her out of just kind of solo spite, but if he actually goes and joins up with Dany and the Targaryens and that whole fleet coming back, and he makes peace with Tyrion and all of that, I would be okay with him killing her in that context.
Yeah,
but without all of that around it, it seems really super just domestic.
No. It's not going to play super domestic abusive type anything like that. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a season where he's going to talk to her about it. It's not going to work out. And I think what we're going to see is a scene very reminiscent to the story they've talked about several times, in which Tywin Lannister is at the gate saying, "Let us in." Tyrion's at the gate saying, "Let us in." Cersei won't open the gates. Mad King won't open the gates. He killed the Mad King. Gates open. And then that's what happens. That's what I foresee. I don't think it's just going to be spite you for doing that. I think, because they still love each other despite this. So I think there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. But so there's going to be a proper build up to it.
We have sacrificed a lot of nuance this season in order to power steam push this plot forward at this rampant pace.
But Caleb raised a good point last week in which all the plot points have started to synthesize and come together. They're going to have more time to, I think, develop a lot of those things than they did in the past.
I think there's literally 5 different locations, maybe.
They're gonna have to spend more time in different places. I think it's gonna get better.
When all of our players are all in the same places. So it's not like we're at 8 storylines per episode. We have I think a maximum of 5 for the entire season. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time for the day. Alexandra, thank you so much for joining us on our season 6 wrap up. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Sorry for the lack of the episode 10, but I'll make it up to you. I promise. And by that I mean we're gonna have an entire episode dedicated to talking about women in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So if you've read the piece on our website that went live last week by our B-Show host, Matt Lane, on Good Trash Media, the plan is to have him to talk about why he quit watching Game of Thrones because he thought it was a sexist piece of work of art. And we're going to have him talk, and Alex will be on there. We have some other special guests lined up, so I'm very, very excited. We're going to just kind of talk about in season 6 especially, because I think season 6 is crucial to that conversation now. But we'll talk about season 6, of course, but it'll be going throughout the show as a whole, because we've talked about this on the show every single year. There's this really weird tension with how women are portrayed on the show between objectified and empowered, and it's like, which one is the show pulling for, and when is it doing it for the sake of the setting, and when is it just doing it for the sake of the audience, and all sorts of questions like that. But yes, we will be around for at least one more show this year. Now, Alex, where can the good people find you online if they want to hit you up on the internet?
You can find me on Letterboxd at Alex V Books. You could find me on Instagram at Alex V Brohannon, and as of right now, that's the social media I've got going.
Daniel Stoll number 23 on Twitter. Yeah, that's about all that I have. So
great. All right, Austin, how about you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter at AC Lucari. And if anyone out there likes to play some video games, anything like that, you can add me on PlayStation, which is just my last name, Lucari. We'll play some games or something.
Games are fun. I miss games.
It's a long off season, so gotta fill the time somehow. This Game of Thrones shaped void in my heart.
Of course, ladies and gentlemen, you can always find more of our work year-round talking about film at goodtrashmedia.com. They've been our gracious hosts this season. It's been very exciting, and hopefully there'll be a continued partnership we can see long into the future. And of course, if you want to find me on the Twitter, I'm at CMastersTalk. My new Twitter handle.
Because he sure likes to do that.
I do like to talk indeed. That's why I'm podcasting, fools. So you can find me there or on Letterboxd at CMasters91. Letterboxd, I'll say it again. If you like movies, get on that. That is like the platform to be on. I've moved a lot of my Twitter reviews just over to Letterboxd reviews, which has been really handy. So check that out. And you can track how many movies you've seen this year. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, stay tuned next week when we talk about women in Game of Thrones. Until then, enjoy yourselves on the off time until we go again beyond the wall.